Welcome back to another segment of Behind the Scenes of the Waltons. Today I continue making my way through episodes in Season 5, this time with the episode The Nightwalker. The Nightwalker episode had a bit of an eerie feel to it. At the beginning of the episode, we get the sense of there being a stalker, and this person is in the dark, creeping around the Walton house and comes into the Walton barn, where we get an opportunity to see the Walton animals. There's the goat, Myrtle, and Blue, and the cow, and they're making noises, and this alerts Jon Boy wakes up, even Jason wakes up, and they go outside to try and find out what is upsetting the animals, but they don't. Jon Boy from his room said he saw a man, a tall, thin man, over in kind of the shadows, but when they go outside, he's nowhere to be seen. The next morning, Olivia says she wants all of the children to stick together walking to and from school and not take shortcuts through the woods because there is potentially an unknown person wandering around the neighborhood who might be a threat. Jason lets everyone know that unfortunately Thelma has gone away on vacation, and so the dewdrop is closed for a couple weeks, so he is in need of work. He's in need of money to continue to pay his tuition. Jon Boy goes to Ike's store, and Ike has just finished putting a sign up for Godsey's Hall. He has cleaned up whatever this space was and is now prepared to be renting it out for use in the community. Jon Boy suggests to Jason that perhaps he consider getting a band together and holding a dance in Godsey's Hall, that he could rent it and make money by selling tickets, and that people in the community would probably love that. Cutting through the woods on their way back from school, Aaron and Elizabeth hear the sound of a whippoorwill, and they do indeed, and rustling in the bushes, and they do spot this strange young man in the woods, and of course, spooked, they take off. That evening, as some of them sit on the front porch, Grandpa starts telling ghost stories, and of course Grandma says it's all made up, and it probably is. Grandpa was certainly known for telling slightly untruthful tales and embellishing them all in the most fun. But in this case, it adds to this element of eeriness that surrounds this episode. In fact, Corabeth sees a face outside her bedroom window, and when they go and check it out, no one is there. Ben and Jason come to talk with Jon Boy about planning this dance. Jason doesn't want to proceed with it. They kind of figure out the numbers. They'll probably have to sell about tickets to about 50 couples. They think they can do that, and so they're all excited about getting this going on. Meanwhile, we keep seeing these bare feet in the dark going through the woods. With all of this this concern in the neighborhood about there being some sort of a prowler out there, Jon Boy decides to go and check on the Baldwins and make sure that they are okay. They have also seen what looks like somebody outside their window, and then there's a knock at the door, and it turns out to be Jon Boy, who is just checking in on them and letting them know that they need to make sure that they lock up extra well at night. Director Harvey Laidman made use of a lot of shots, camera angles in this episode. I noticed in a number of scenes. The camera's lower, shooting up at the actors, and several times I noticed this. I wasn't sure exactly why he chose this sort of positioning. Usually that would be something to imply a certain power of the people that are being shot up to, or some dominance there. But in this case, I wasn't exactly sure what his reasoning was behind it, but I did notice that he employed it a number of times in this episode. Driving along the country roads at one point, Jon Boy encounters a woman kind of walking along, and she seems to be softly sort of calling, "Lauren, Lauren." Jon Boy asks if she would like a ride. She declines and moves on. At home, Elizabeth is working on a wicker bird cage for a school project, and Erin is saying, I don't know why you picked something so difficult, because she had made like a pot holder or something super simple. But this is what Elizabeth wants to do. Jason is practicing songs for the dance, and all of the kids decide to get in on the act and dance around in the living room. And even Olivia and Grandma sit down and listen for a few minutes. And it's pretty much everyone's planning to attend the dance. Jon and Grandpa go out hunting for food. We do see stock footage of a deer that they don't actually come in personal contact with. And then they see smoke. And this is coming from the old Montgomery cabin. So they go over to check it out, make sure everything's okay. And they encounter Eva Hadley, who says that the cabin had belonged to her sister and now she is living there. She says she's basically there, it's just her. And although they offer help, she basically doesn't seem to want to engage with them and likes being out there on her own. But they do see all these lovely wicker baskets that she claims to know nothing about, says they were there when she got there. I had been noticing that I didn't seem to be in any scenes, and in fact there's a dinner scene then where I am not at the dinner table. Nothing was ever said about where I was supposed to be, why I wasn't in this episode, and for the life of me I have no idea what was going on and why I wasn't in the episode. I don't recall ever being like having an illness that took me out of a whole episode. So it made me wonder if it coincided with perhaps, I know I did a couple of CBS affiliate tours to help promote the Waltons. So I thought, well, maybe something like that was going on and I was away doing that. I have no idea, but I scoured this episode and did not see myself anywhere. After dinner, Jason is in the barn practicing with his fellow musicians, and this young man, hearing the music, comes up and enters the barn, or in the shadows anyway, and they see him and they give chase, and they do in fact catch him over by the garden and pin him down. Hearing the noise, other family members have come out, and it's a young man and he seems terrified. Olivia tells them that he's not a threat, he's just scared, and so they usher him inside and they give him something to eat and something to drink, and we have our first actual look at Lauren, who is this stalker, theoretically. Then Eva Hadley arrives, and it is her son. She's been protecting him because he's basically mute and not really simple, but because he doesn't speak, and he, they're simple people, but he's very gifted with wicker, and he starts fixing Elizabeth's bird cage. And Eva tells a story of them moving to the mountains because he was being tormented, and she wanted to bring him someplace where he would be safe and he could just live his life, and she could care for him without him being picked on all the time. So it's really very, very heartwarming. Like even when the sheriff came out, she was just worried about them being hounded in some way. So when the sheriff came, she didn't share about her son, other than that she had a son there, but that he wasn't around. So she's been very protective of him for obvious reasons. Because of his wonderful skill with the wicker, Jon gets the idea of him repairing these chairs that the Baldwin sisters had asked if he could repair, but he said wicker wasn't really his specialty. So Lauren does indeed go to the Baldwins and repair their chairs, and they're so ecstatic that they say that maybe they'll have him make them more wicker furniture. And so you get the sense that he has found a nice, safe community to be a part of. He also gets along very well with their bird in the cage and whistles back and forth with it. Ava was played by actress Peggy Weber, and Lauren was played by Gary Tomlin, who went on to become a writer, director, and producer. Like many Walton episodes, it ends with the dance. At first, there had been no real ticket sales because people were afraid to go out at night. But then once it's discovered that there is no threat, that it was really Lauren Everybody is, of course, willing to go back out and participate in the dance, which looks to have been a good success for Jason. Lauren and his mother do come to the dance, and their tickets are comped by the management. And they sit and they enjoy the music, and Miss Emily even goes over and gets Lauren up, and the two of them circle around and dance together. So another sweet ending to a Walton episode. That's what I have for you for this segment of Behind the Scenes of the Waltons. I will be back with more behind the scenes and more Ask Judy and more special guests. Thanks for watching.